Hello everyone. This is the video for Chapter 13, Early Childhood Special Education. First of all, go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint slide, my notes for Chapter 14. You'll see the first two slides are related to homework. That'll be done during the week, so please look at those two slides. And then the next one is a YouTube video called Billy. If you will go ahead and click that link, and we'll start out by having you pause me and watch the video. All right. Hopefully that gave you a better idea of what you will be looking at as you're looking at the world of early childhood special education. It gives you one snapshot of one child and what their needs might be. So, chapter of objectives, explain why early intervention is critical for young children with disabilities. Identify key differences between individualized family service plans, or IFSPs as it will be termed, and individual education programs, or IEPs, which is what we've been talking about so far. You'll be able to list and describe the 5 purposes of assessment in early childhood special education, and you'll also be able to describe how a play activity or an everyday routine can become a specially designed learning opportunity for a preschooler with disabilities. And lastly, you'll be able to list and briefly describe service delivery options for young children and identify advantages and disadvantages of each type. So let's go ahead and get into the chapter here. Number 1, the importance of early intervention. The earlier the intervention begins, the better. Early intervention comprises of a comprehensive system of therapies, both educational, nutritional, child care, and family supports, all designed to reduce the effects of disabilities or prevent the occurrence of learning and developmental problems later in life for children presumed to be at risk for such problems. In this section here, there is not really you don't really get diagnosed or put into a disability category. You are just at risk, and they're trying to, again, just like that is saying, trying to prevent further assistance needed, and possibly have students then not need special education in the future. I want you to look at the 4 items that I've got here on the next slide. Does early intervention work? There is some different research evidence that shows comprehensive, experientially based early intervention enhances the development of young children who already exhibit delays and helps children at risk of developmental delays by preventing those delays entirely or by minimizing their magnitude. So look at those 4 in the book and to get a better idea of some of those studies. Outcomes for early intervention in IDEA of 2014. First of all, is to enhance the development of infants, toddlers with disabilities, reduce educational costs to society by minimizing the need for special education and related services after infants and toddlers with disabilities reach school age. Also, to maximize the potential for individuals with disabilities to live independently in society. Also, enhance the capacity of families to meet the needs of their preschooler with disabilities. And parents and family may be the most important. When you're talking about the IFSPs, you're looking at a document that not only looks at the child, but also takes into consideration the family needs. So those are some of the differences between the IEP and the IFSP that we'll get into later. Also enhance the capacity of state and local agencies, along with, in 2012, approximately 2.8% of population of infants and toddlers, or about 329,000, were served nationally in this area. PL 99-457 mandated preschool services for children with disabilities ages 3 to 5, provided a voluntary incentive program for early intervention services to infants and toddlers. And in red there, IDEA mandates early intervention services for any child under 3 years of age who has a developmental delay or has a high probability of a developmental delay. States that receive IDEA funds for early intervention must serve all infants and toddlers with developmental delays and establish risk conditions. And states may also serve infants and toddlers who are identified as at biological or environmental risk. Developmental delays or significant delays or atypical patterns of development. Established risk conditions are diagnosed physical or medical concerns. Biological risk conditions, pediatric histories, or current biological conditions, where environmental risk conditions are extreme poverty, parental substance abuse, homelessness, abuse or neglect, and parental intellectual impairment associated with a higher probability of developmental delay. So those are some of the definitions that go along with it. The next is one that I typically use in class, but if you would like to look at those, talks about why is it difficult to measure the impact of early intervention and gives some ideas there. I definitely would go ahead and look at that to see how you do. Individualized Family Service Plans, or IFSPs, are a plan that addresses the needs of the child and family and is developed by a multidisciplinary team. An IFSP defines the family as being the recipient of early intervention services, not just the student. An IFSP must be evaluated once a year and reviewed at 6-month intervals. So this is another difference where the IEP is reviewed annually, and every 3 years you must look at the evaluation. An IFSP is much sooner. It's every year it needs to be evaluated and reviewed at 6-month intervals. Special education for preschoolers. Preschool children do not have to be identified under existing categories to receive services. Local education agencies, or LEA, may elect to use a variety of service options with these students. An IFSP, some of the statements that you will need to remember. It has a statement of present levels of physical development, cognitive development, communication development, and adaptive development. It has a statement of the family's resources, priorities, and concerns relative to enhancing the development of the infant or toddler with a disability. It also has a statement of measurable results or outcomes expected to be achieved for the infant or toddler and the family. It also has a statement of specific early intervention services based on peer-reviewed research. In addition, it has a statement of natural environments in which early intervention services will appropriately be provided, has projected dates for initiation of services and the anticipated length, duration, and frequency of that service. Identification of a service coordinator. It also has steps to support the transition to preschool or other appropriate services included in that IFSP. Then you've got two similar slides that were taken from a previous presentation. Then we also have another 2 slides that I wouldn't mind you looking at. See if you can answer the questions. How can we provide early intervention services for a child whose disability is not yet present? Write that down and see what your thoughts are, and then read the next slide and see how close you actually are to answering that question. The difference between IFSPs and an IEP. IFSPs revolve around the family as the constant and most important factor in that child's life. It helps define the family as the recipient of early intervention services rather than the child alone. It also focuses on the natural environment in which the child and family live, and includes interventions and services provided by a variety of health and human service agencies in addition to education. Next, we'll talk about the screening, identification, and assessment. Assessment in early childhood special education is conducted at least 5 different purposes, for at least 5 different purposes. There's screening, determining eligibility for services, individualized planning, monitoring progress, and measuring child outcomes. And there's some different screening tools that the book talked about. One of them you'll definitely need to know is the APGAR scale, and look and see what it's all about. The newborn blood test screening and developmental screening tests are also part of that. Determining eligibility. There's a comprehensive assessment measure performance in 5 major areas. So you need to look at motor development, cognitive development, communication and language development, along with social and emotional development and adaptive development. Program planning and monitor progress. There's guided by accurate and sensitive progress monitoring. Measures the individual growth and development indicators, along with direct system observation. Let me turn off that. It's telling me that I need to do what I'm doing. So, the next one is another one that I'd like for you to look at. How are the 4 different purposes of assessment and evaluation in early childhood special education related to one another? Read that slide to help you better understand how they are related to one another. I want you to pause me for a second. I want you to look at the video that's titled Early Intervention on the next slide. So if you'll pause me and go ahead and watch the next video. Next, I want to talk about curriculum and program goals. First of all, support families in achieving their own goals, not just the student. Promote maximum child independence and mastery. Promote development in all important domains. Build and support social competence, along with facilitate the generalization of learned skills. It's going to help prepare and assist children for typical life experiences with their families, in school, and in their communities. Remember this part. Help children and their families make smooth transitions. They will use this program until they are ready for kindergarten, and transition to that is one transition that they may go through. Prevent and minimize the development of future problems or disabilities. Developmentally appropriate practice. Number 1, it's a framework of principles and guidelines that outline practice that promotes young children's optimal learning and development. It also has core principles. Knowledge must inform decision making. Goals must be challenging and achievable. I hope by now you have that understood. And teaching must be intentional to be effective. Next, I want to talk about how you're going to select those IFSP or IEP goals and objectives. The goals and objectives should be evaluated according to the following quality indicators. 3 in red you'll want to look at a little bit further to make sure that you understand them. You'll have functionality, generality, and instructional context, along with measurability. Next, I have a slide I want you to think about and jot down what your thoughts are. How can a play, activity, or everyday routine become a specially designed learning opportunity for a preschooler with disabilities? So pause me and write down your thoughts about what you think is the answer to that question. Well, number 1, play provides children with natural, repeated opportunities with disabilities or for learning, and teachers of young children with disabilities can arrange the child's play environment to promote the skill mastery across several developmental domains. Teachers must also monitor the child's progress and make adjustments to the environment that will facilitate success of important skills. And then, speaking of play, I want you to go ahead and look at the importance of play. I think a lot of you, especially if you're interested in early childhood special education, I think you will enjoy the next video called The Importance of Play. So if you'll pause me and jump to that one. All right. Instructional adaptations and modifications. Number 1, teaching play and play expansions. Book talks about peer-mediated interventions, embedded learning opportunities, preschool activity schedules, and support and supportive physical environment. So you want to look over those a little bit, but really the next one, the service delivery options, I really want you to look at. There are a little bit different than what you would think of in a typical IEP. But the service delivery options for early childhood special education include, first of all, hospital-based programs for those who require specialized health care. Then there's home-based programs, which are built around the family involvement and support. There's center-based programs that provide early intervention in a special education setting outside of the home. And there's also combined home center programs, which include center-based activities and home visitations. I really want you to look at each one of these and go to the book and get a better understanding of the differences and what they might be good for of those 4 different service delivery options. And lastly, families are most important of all. Parents and families are most important in making this early intervention work. They're the most frequent and constant observers of the child's behavior. Parents know better than anyone else what their children need and can help educators set realistic goals. They can also monitor and report on their child's progress while they're at home. And parents are in it for the long haul. They really do want their child to succeed. So the more knowledge that they have, the more that you can give them, the better you will be and the better the child will be in their development. That is really all of the area there. Most of you by now should be setting up your observations. I think I've got a little more than half the class now that has been placed, or at least has a contact, I guess I should say, of where they can call and get in touch and email so that they can get everything set up. This week, again, look at the assignments that are due and go ahead and get started on that. As always, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to give me an email or give me a phone call. With your observation, I know some of you need to fill out the rest of your information once you get placed. The discussion board, first, most of you just put down kind of what school building or what district you were going to be at, and that is fine. Then what I'll do is I'll give you half points at that point, and then I will give you the rest of the points for that post when you email me the regular education teacher's name along with their email and the special education teacher's name along with their email. And once you get that completed, then I'll go ahead and change your points and give you all the points needed. So if you have any questions, let me know. It looks like I've graded most everything. I'm just now getting ready to grade some of the last papers turned in later on this evening or tomorrow morning. Remember that Wednesday you need to make sure and do your post, your initial post, and then do some posts throughout the week. Anyway, I will let you go. This is a kind of a short video right now, but that'll work, I'm sure, for you. So you have a great week.